Right.
Hello, my name is Decimus Claudius, and this is Nova Roma's Twitch account. And I'm very pleased today to welcome our guest, Titus Domitius Draco. Thank you so much for being with me today.
I'm happy to be here. Salve, salvete.
Salve. So, kicking things off, can you just please let us know what your various titles are in Nova Roma?
Okay, I'm Titus Domitius Draco. I am a senator, imperator, proconsul, lictor. And 2016, three times. Um,
Nice.
the 2016 was the briefest. That was pretty much our emergency year to try to recover from the coup attempt, the dictatorship. Um, 2020 was obviously a little disappointing because the world crashed into a halt. Uh, 2018 though was when we had the Grand Convention in Rome, and few of us managed to attend, and we marched in the parade celebrating the founding of Rome.
Wait, was that in 2020?
That was in 2018.
Oh, 2018.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely not 2020.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was actually supposed to fly to Rome in March of 2020 to see a huge special exhibition about Carthage. And I'm actually not a fan, but I'm very interested in some Carthaginian history. And a week before I was going to fly out, everything got canceled, and that was the end of the exhibition. It was very sad, but things happen. Um,
Yeah.
but back on the topic, so 2018, so you were at the founding of Rome celebration. Is it like Natale di Roma? Um,
Yes.
so how is that like? I've seen pictures. It's this big grand event with different groups, but I'm not sure how it is to like really be a part of it.
Well, the experience of a lifetime, pretty much. To anyone who loves Rome, I was in my toga and tunica, um, along with my co-consul, Senator. Is he still? I think he's still senator. Quadratus, the former governor of was there. Princeps Senatus Scholastica, who I'm sure you know very well. She was also there. There were quite a few of us. Our one of our again tunic toga. Because you start off at the Hippodrome, you go through the streets around the Colosseum and make your way back. Um, Along the path, there's a statue to I think Augustus or Trajan. I can't remember. It's near Trajan's column, so it really could be either. Um, they stopped each group, and pretty much the leaders um, were given incense tossed into a burner in front of it. So that was kind of interesting. Um,
Well, were there a lot of
Quadratic,
people there? Like
like in the group or watching,
both.
because
Like, could you
there
give some
were.
estimates?
I mean, lots of people were lining the streets. Actual numbers of people, I'm terrible at that. Um, but there were quite a few reenactment groups and Roman historical societies and everything there from all over the world. I mean, it was impressive because there were entire units of Republican legions, Imperial legions. There are people in civilian dress. Obviously, other groups dressed as senators and consuls, but it was just impressive to see.
Were you able to, I don't know, speak to some others participating, make some friends, and like networking, or were you just pretty much just with the Nova Roman group the whole time in Rome?
I was primarily with the Nova Roman group. Near us, there weren't very many English-speaking people, so that kind of hinders me, unfortunately. And my Latin isn't anywhere near what I would prefer it to be. It's very rudimentary. And if they knew it, it wouldn't have really helped, unfortunately.
Like, when did you take Latin, and how substantial, were the classes?
I briefly took a course with Scholastica, but just work was killing me at the time, so I had to kind of drop that. And anything else was just from me curiously poking at things, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to really be committed to learn Latin.
Yeah, to learn any language, really, but
absolutely. I've been trying to learn German for over 20 years now, and I still make so many mistakes. And it's like, come on, like after 20 years, you would think that like you would be like, I don't know, like, kind of like a native speaker. But
yeah. You would hope so, but no.
Definitely.
I know a little German too. I took that in high school, and my family is Pennsylvania Deutsch. So even through that, it's battering of Palatine German from my youth.
Oh, nice. So you mentioned that you had a toga and a tunic in 2018. Did you make them yourself, or did you buy them from ARCs or a different company?
I made the tunic myself. The toga Lentulus made, and I purchased from him.
Oh, wow. Not bad. And does it have a senatorial stripe?
Yes. Yeah, that's the wide red one. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. What about the shoes?
I don't even know where I have them right now. Those I bought online. I checked with Lentulus to make sure they were okay.
So there's specific senatorial shoes, which I believe were red.
Yeah, I did not purchase those. I couldn't even find them online till well after my Roman trip.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure ARC sells them now, but that wasn't really a thing at the time.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, it's all handmade. I'm not sure how comfortable they are. Were your leather shoes comfortable to like march around Roman?
They were, unless rocks got in them. And there was just a little bit of leather that kind of dug into my Achilles heel that I needed to file down and never got a chance to. But overall, yeah, they're pretty comfortable. After the long march around in the, I don't want to say it like it's super hot, because it wasn't. It was, again, in the imperial system, England, Fahrenheit. It was 75-ish at its height for temperature, which was beautiful. But wearing the tunic and toga, the toga gets really hot marching in the sun. So that started to get marching and all that tended to get a little uncomfortable.
Before we continue, we have a few comments from, so it is a live interview. So we have a few comments in the chat room from Octavius Astronomus, and he says, Salute. He also says that your audio is cutting in and
Cutting
out a
in and
little
out.
bit, but hopefully it'll be good. Because I could hear you pretty well. So yeah, hopefully that's not going to be an
That's
issue.
odd.
Um, yeah. So if I remember correctly, you've also done some reenacting as well. Was it military reenacting that you've done?
No. I haven't done reenacting. I've been interested in it, but I've never actually done it myself. You may be thinking of the soldier days they have over in New Jersey. That's where one of our other senators, um, he leads the 24th Legion. He brings a few of his unit there and has a lot of things on display, including a scorpion ballista, basically a aimable catapult there that you can fire. I tend to go there nearly yearly. It's again since 2020. It's been more limited.
Oh, now I understand because I've seen pictures, and so you were there but not participating.
Correct.
Okay, now I understand. Yeah, that's interesting. So like, I mean, I've been to one reenactment one time in Maine, actually, some years ago. But so how is the festival in New Jersey? And do they do advertisement for the local communities, or how is that all set up?
Um, I don't know how great their advertisements are. Honestly, it's at a public park, Fort Mott, I believe it is. It's one of the old forts along the Delaware River. Um, there is often the units from all different time periods. The Roman unit, the 24th, that's the eldest period. But there are units from the Revolutionary War. Uh, the equipment they bring out cannons. They often even fire them. Um, I think the last time I was there, there was a Napoleonic unit. I can't recall if they were French or English, but they brought a cannon and were firing it across the field. Obviously, no cannonball. You
Wow.
still don't want to be in front of it if that wadding's shot out, though. Um,
And how many people are in the Legion, or at least participate in such events?
the most people I have actually seen from the Legion at a time there was about three or four. Um, Membership numbers are much higher than that, from my knowledge. Um, but schools, they're open membership, but a lot of them tend to be in the like Philadelphia, New Jersey-ish area, from my understanding. They go to local schools in kit and like to show equipment to the kids, how everything works. It's education. That's part of Nova Roma's mission.
Definitely. Have you gone as like a senator to any schools or any of these events, or do you normally just go as a civilian, or just go as a spectator?
I've never gone to the schools myself. I am not an official member of the Legion. I
That's
do
true.
want to see more education outreach, though, in general, not just from the Legion, but elsewhere, and that's something that needs to be organized.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, how many times have you met other Nova Romans? Because you said that, for instance, in that park in New Jersey, there's some, and you also went to the Conventus and also, the birthday of Rome in 2018. Are those pretty much the only times you've met other Nova Romans, or have you met them in different other events?
Um, I have met up with other Nova Romans. Quadratus, I met up with a few times during our consulships. Um, I my proquaestor, he like 10 minutes away from me. We hang out a lot. We chat. We plan. There are a couple local Nova Roma citizens I've met up with now and then. Um, so a few dozen times minimum, probably more with my proquaestor over the years. Um, we are planning a much bigger event this June for the province, and everyone's invited if they want to attend over in Lancaster County, so across the river from where I am right now.
So it's the
That'd be,
Provincia Mid-Atlantica, right?
yes. There's technically more to it that is a subject of contention among us because New York was added to it for some reason when New York is mid-Atlantic.
I think
um,
in the past there used to be a different division of provinces. I believe there was like New England and Maryland. I believe was its own. I'm
um,
not exactly sure though, but like about 15 years ago, I think there were definitely like more individual like provinces, and now it's more like combined.
when I started here in at Nova Roma, it was New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, DC, and Virginia. West Virginia wasn't part of it at the time, but is now. We're all Medi Atlantica, and then the uh, the wonderful duo I'm sure you've heard about that tried seizing power at one point decided, oh, we can give our buddies more titles, and kind of shattered the provinces. That's when there was Provincia Columbia, which was Maryland, New Jersey, and Delaware, I believe. Um, Virginia, which was West and regular Virginia. Um, New Jersey and New York, I think, were together. Oh, possibly with Pennsylvania. I don't remember anymore. Um, but yeah, the province was unfortunately shattered. It's obviously been reformed with West Virginia, which makes sense to kind of recombine the Virginias, which I'm sure
So,
would be a local issue if they thought about it that way.
for the event in Lancaster coming up, what can one expect there?
It is I forget the exact festival. It's related to Fortuna, the goddess of fortune. We're just trying to get everyone together. We'll probably be doing cookouts. There will be a ceremony, I believe, led by our provincial priest, Senator uh, Patre. Founder of Nova Roma. I'm drawing a blank on this Roman name.
Cassius?
No, not Cassius. I feel terrible about this because we chat all the time.
No worries. I mean, it's a live interview. Sometimes, it doesn't.
Flavius Vedius Germanicus.
Yeah.
The other founder.
Nice. Were you a part of the Saturnalia festival in December? Because there was a big group in the Mid Atlantica province, and I actually called into it, so I saw some of it. But there were a lot of people there, so I'm not sure some of the faces. But were you there or not?
I was not. The highest ranking members of Nova Roma there were Germanicus and Scholastica. They were the
Okay.
highest ones there.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice though to be in a province where there are a bunch of different activities. I've
Mhm.
actually, in the last, I don't know, 16 years or so, seen only on 3 occasions other Nova Romans. So I mean, that's kind of unfortunate, and it's a very envious position that you could definitely meet up with others and just do a bunch of things in person rather than just all online.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, people are still hesitant because of COVID, which unfortunately is never really going away, no matter how much we try. Um, but yeah, I would still like to have more events, but again, it's hard to get everyone together, um, especially with prices of gas now. Um, Nova Roma means a lot to a lot of different people, and even if it's just online, it's still a step up from not really having anyone to talk to about Roman history, culture, and all the things that fascinate us about our ancestors, essentially.
Definitely. And when you talk to, I don't know, friends or family members or coworkers, do you ever mention Nova Roma? And if you do, like, what are their reactions?
Um, I do, and I have. My close family members, they're just used to it, and unfortunately, a lot of them aren't quite into history like I am. Um, Closest would be my stepfather, who's into World War II history. Um, but most of them, they either close friends they join, like my proquester, or they're interested, but they're kind of turned off by the idea of paying membership dues, taxes, which I can understand to a degree, though they're not nearly as high as they used to be.
It's actually they're $9 per year, and it's also optional.
Yeah. Um, they just see taxes and and hesitate. Which again, hearing tax kind of makes a lot of people pause, understandably. Um, that's why I tend to refer to it as membership dues when speaking to non-citizens. Um, but some of them are interested by the idea, but they don't really want to make that step, which unfortunately takes some prodding over time. Um, yeah, but most of them are they're more understanding when I explain it as a cultural and educational organization. Otherwise, they would probably think it's again a reenactment unit.
Yeah. Um, Before I forget, you have a very interesting T-shirt. It has a Nova Roma logo. I don't remember that ever going on sale. And or, like, how did you acquire it, or did you design it?
I had it made. It was meant to be a prototype for us to sell, but nothing ever came of it. Um, this is something I tend to use when I'm attending Nova Roma events, an official function, just to get our website and name out there. Um, I would love for us to start actually selling more gear. Just again to help fund Nova Roma and to get our name out there. I recently took it upon myself to try to start DMCAing and IP claiming various sites that have been using our logo and profiting from it. Uh, at least one of them has taken down everything with our logo on it, and I'm still working on some others.
And that's primarily on Etsy, right?
Um, there are quite a few websites. Etsy, eBay. There are a couple others similar to Etsy too. Redbubble, I think it is. Um, that one has actually been super cooperative. Again, Germanicus was the one who created the logo, so and he assigned Nova Roma the rights to it. So that technically means, yeah, we outright own it, so we can DMCA it, we can copyright claim it, trademark claim it, whatever we need to do to get it down.
But part of that is also not only just claiming, either copyright or trademark claiming. I mix up the two. But another issue is just having our own gear out there. So, I mean, the space isn't taken up by others, because right now, I mean, occasionally, like I purchased a Nova Roma shirt in Maine back in 2006. And I actually travel around with it. So I was in Morocco back in October. And, it was really nice. I was, right in front of like the Capitoline Temple, and got a picture with it. And it actually, like, it doesn't look old. It hasn't faded whatsoever, which is actually a miracle, because not that many T-shirts survive that far or that long. But that's besides the point. It would just be nice to have some swag, some gear just to wear around. And I definitely looking forward to that as well. I remember hearing a few ideas over the last few years, including like last year I spoke to Preconinus and he had an idea about that. So I'm definitely hopeful that, maybe like later this year, that could get going.
I know, again, Germanicus, he actually owns a shop, I believe, that does a lot of things like that. So he's interested in basically reacquiring the use rights of the logo and everything, the name, so he can start making gear too. Which, the more the better. Having your European function, having an American function, just to cut down on shipping costs too. I think that would just be terrific. Again, I want to see our name and logo out there, and right now it's not really possible. Yeah, I think I joined around the same time as you. We discussed that, and yeah, I remember buying a lapel pin from the shop we had, and
did you get some coins as well?
Yes, somewhere I have a couple Nova Roma coins. I have one of the original batch and two of the second batch, which were different designs.
Yeah, because I got the first one with Cassius in like the main Roman days back in 2006, and I was actually a part of the chat, like designing the second coin, and I was very pleased about that. If you look at the chat, I was actually the one to suggest that we should have a chariot on the coin, because obviously Nova Roma wants to recreate, the Roman Republic, and it's not a denarius, because it's a brass coin, so it's supposed to be a sestertius. But still, I think that the chariot is a very dynamic symbol, a very representative of the Republic, and I was very glad that that was put on one of the sides with the temple on the reverse. Yeah. So in the chat, I do have to thank Octavius Astronomus. He wrote a few more comments that he's in Nova Britannia. He was at the Saturnalia gathering in Connecticut in December with the others, and he would love to attend the Media Atlantica event in Pennsylvania. So that's really great. He also said that he would like to meet you and others in the province, because he was able to meet others at the Saturnalia. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's really great when Nova Romans just really get together, and sometimes they're older or younger. Maybe they'll be Latin speakers. Maybe they're more interested in Roman reenactments. But everybody has their own sort of specific interests, but as well just for the overall Roman history and culture. So I think that's always a lot of fun, and you can learn a lot from other people, in these meetups.
He and any other from Nova Britannia, or again any of the provinces, are more than welcome to attend. I know we are planning on looking into renting a Airbnb location for those who do have to travel. Um, I think right now it's looking around 125 for the entire weekend or night, which includes meals and stuff. Um, but so it's not too bad. Um, so it will be over the course of several days, ideally. But we understand some will only be able to attend like one or two at the most.
Nice. Who's actually in charge of it, like doing all the organization?
Right now, Germanicus is really pushing for it because he's, again, it's meant to be a also a religious function. I think that's more under his purview. But he runs everything by me, and I have full faith in him. I mean, he's one of our founders. How could I not?
Definitely. Um, and so I have a little bit of information about the Legio, like the 14th Media Atlantica, the oldest legion in Nova Roma. Is it true that you're a ceremonial commander-in-chief as the proconsul?
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Ceremonial. Yes, that's how that works. So all governors are technically ceremonial commanders of any legions within their province.
And how did Nova Roma gain, quote unquote, that first legion?
That predates me. I mean, when I started here, I think it was in '06. That's around they were already a part of Nova Roma. Um, Back then, our governor at the time, he unfortunately has passed away a few years back. He We had like big meetups with Nova Roma citizens down in Maryland, at an Italian restaurant. Um, Actually met quite a few Nova Romans back then, which unfortunately I'm not sure how many of them are still around. Um, but yeah, the founding members of Nova Roma, not in the first batch, but as it spread out, because he wasn't from Maine. Um, I know he has a low number in the roster.
Now, yeah, I also I also have a little bit of information about Gallio Velius Marsalis, the legion commander.
Yeah.
And Lentulus wrote that he's perhaps the first ever Roman reenactor that they had, and one of the first citizens of Nova Roma. And you've met him before.
That's all right. I've met him quite a few times. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I know I know he's really big into reenacting. He actually does Star Wars cosplay too. He is the oldest armored member of the 501st Legion.
Oh, wow.
They're the ones who dress up as stormtroopers and everything, and do charity events. So I know he's been a member of them too.
Oh, nice. Now, actually, it's a question I want to ask pretty close to the top of the interview. I haven't done time, and I'm wondering how you became interested in Roman history.
How did I become interested in Roman history? That's a wonderful question, and I wish I had any idea. I've been interested in Roman history almost as long as I can remember. We used to have a old encyclopedia set, the World Book Encyclopedia of 1970 something, and I would page through it, and I would just read, and the subject of Rome just fascinated well, some of them were Welsh, so they would have been original Britain subjects of Rome. I have Gaulish ancestry, as in the actual Gauls, not the Franks, but I have that too, obviously. It just took hold, and hopefully it takes hold in a lot of other people, because I would love to see more, especially younger people, become fascinated by Rome and consider joining Nova Roma. Because without,
maybe they'll be,
we're screwed. Frankly,
maybe there'll be an opportunity soon. Did you hear about Gladiator 2? It's actually the filming is about to start for that.
Yes, which should help with the recruitment drive, honestly, because that will make people interested. Hopefully, it's
so that wasn't the number one reason why I was interested in Roman history, but that was part of like this trajectory. So that was like one step for me to go from one level to the next, being interested. And I've actually been waiting for this movie to come out for decades. So I'm really glad. And I don't know. Lately, there's been a few series, and ever since I would say like the HBO Rome series, there hasn't been anything that's of considerable quality. There's been a few movies here and there that I kind of enjoyed. For instance, set in England, where a few people had to find a lost eagle, or even the Barbarians, the first season. Some parts were interesting, some parts were kind of ridiculous. I haven't seen the second series. Season yet, but So what's your take on it? Are there some Roman movies lately that really engaged you, or do you think also the last 15 years or so it's been kind of a disappointment on that end?
I mean, I've heard the Latin on Barbarians was actually super good, but again, a lot of movies tend to make Romans, lately anyway, the bad guys, so to speak, which I'm not a big fan of. Even if sometimes bad guys become super popular. But yeah, Gladiator was an impressive movie for the time, obviously not entirely historically accurate. But it was a good film. And I mean, just seeing Rome in 3D like that at the time was just mind-blowing. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the other films over the years. Like, again, you're mentioning the Lost Legion or Lost Eagle or whatever movie. There was the other one where not Germanic, Romulus Augustulus fled to Britain, and there are some remnants of the Legion protected him or something. All historical nonsense, of course, but I mean, unfortunately, we have to take what we can get. We don't have the funding to make our own movies. Even if a few of our members have participated in some of the shows and movies over the years.
Well, that's true. I'm always surprised to hear this. That, for instance, on Facebook, somebody was like, "Yeah, I'm in the credits," or "Yeah, I'm in this or that." But there's a big controversy about the Barbarians series on Netflix, because just how far they strayed from the actual history. And obviously, everybody knows that when you go to a movie, the director takes liberties to tell a story. So you would expect it to a small extent, but like a complete fantasy is just something that kind of really turns you off. I do have to say on that end, did you see the movie Pompeii about 6 or 7 years ago in the theaters?
I actually own it, but I haven't watched it yet because I saw the cast. I bought it because it was a Roman film, but I saw the cast and I always hesitate because the bigger the name, the less realistic it tends to be.
Oh boy, you're in for a treat there. What I do like to say is, and a lot of these movies and shows, it's really interesting, like to see the costumes and the set. You know what I'm saying? I could appreciate. I could appreciate a production that at least gets those things close enough, right? But for instance, spoiler alert, Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius explodes and Pompeii is destroyed. But how it's done, is just so fanciful. And when you're watching, there's a certain, let's say, earthquake scene, because obviously, there were earthquakes.
Yeah.
I believe before and during the eruption. So there's one specific earthquake scene in this movie that you're like, absolutely not. Whoever thought about that? It is so unrealistic. You just have to laugh, But what can you do?
Unfortunately, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. It reminded me of years ago when that Pearl Harbor movie came out. I went because I love Tora 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 and some of the other old, like, war-based movies. For it to be over. It was just so terrible. Graphics were cool, but yeah, a lot of issues. Talking about like Roman gear and everything in the films. For whatever reason, there's this huge popular push for leather Roman armor, like say leather segmentum. I don't understand why.
Yeah, now I haven't done much research into that field, into Roman clothing and armor. So I'm definitely not one to be able to, say this or that. But I know that there are a lot of people in Nova Roma and also outside that are experts in the field. And sometimes, like, I'm just wondering, like, why can't just someone who's, an expert in Nova Roman armor or clothing just, be a consultant on a production? Like, do they not bother reaching out, or is it because of screen tests, or is it because they just don't care to the attention to details? So I mean, there could be a number of things like that. For instance, it's also interesting when people are like, well, this helmet is from this century, and this armor, or like these are like, really into details. And then I'm like, wow, I'm really glad that even though I don't possess this specific knowledge, like there is such a wealth of knowledge within Nova Roma itself.
Yeah, we do have a lot of very knowledgeable people, and a few of our people have actually sort of had that job on various shows over the years too. But especially with Hollywood in general, I think they're more interested in making it look Roman, but for as cheap as humanly possible. Which unfortunately is where the leather, or probably pleather, comes in.
Yeah. So changing gears a little bit, I'm wondering, other than Rome, which obviously you've seen in 2018, what are some of the other like Roman sites or museums have you visited?
Again, Rome. What is it? The Ossetia, the old Roman port, and unfortunately,
Ostia.
that's really it. Ostia. That's really it. Just those two locations. I wanted to see more, but just our time there. God, I could have spent months just exploring the old city of Rome, though. Because no matter where you go, you're seeing something that you didn't notice before, and it's just mind blowing to be able to reach out and touch a 2,000-plus-year-old building that's still standing. Because here in the States, we don't have that. I mean, obviously, there are some old dwellings out west, but they're still not on the same scale as the Colosseum or anything that's still in Rome.
I think the oldest in the U.S., oldest structures are some burial mounds.
Yeah, and you don't really feel the urge to reach out and touch those.
So how long were you in Italy for then? For that one time?
It was like a week and a half.
Oh, nice.
But it definitely wasn't long enough. I could have spent a lot more time there.
I think so. Not to toot my own horn, I've been to Rome about 12 or 13 times, and the longest time I've been there was for 2 weeks. So, and people are like, "Why do you still go back?" And I was like, "Believe it or not, there are still things I haven't seen in Rome." But I do have to say that the last time I went there, I did do a lot of repeats. I mean, just the Capitoline Museum is just one of the best museums in the world, in my opinion. And they also had a special exhibition about Domitian. And there are also a few other places that either opened for the first time or they've been closed for a while and just reopened. So they're like, you go back every few years and you'll find some new places that you couldn't see before, kind of like Pompeii. You should definitely check out Pompeii sometime. And so I've been there maybe 6 times or so, but every single time I go, they have different, they have different villas open to the public, because they close some villas, because obviously there's restoration aspects, but also crowd management aspects. Mm-hmm. So every time you go there, they'll have a different mix, and sometimes they'll have villas open for the very first time, or villas that have been closed for 20 years and they're just reopening. Plus, you have new sections being excavated and for one open to the public. Maybe you can't walk inside. Maybe there's a plexiglass, but I always find it interesting. So every time you go back there, you always see something new, even if you've been there a bunch of times. So that's one of the things that really draws me. Sometimes when I'm in Rome, I'm like, I'm here for the 12th time, 13th time. I haven't been to, other places, that the Romans were, but it just kind of sucks me.
I mean, as you were saying, that there's always new things popping up. I mean, they're always finding new things in the city still, which is kind of mind-blowing. You think by now they'd know where everything was. And I mean, not too long ago, they finally reopened, they restored and reopened the Tomb of Augustus, I believe, which unfortunately wasn't open when I was there, because that would have been kind of cool to see. But they just found that, what was it, the underground altar or whatever of Romulus, I think it was. They think it was supposed to be.
So I actually didn't go to the Tomb of Augustus. It's nice. I do have to. So when I talk to people who've never been to Rome before, I actually dissuade them for going the first time, because although it's very interesting historically, visually speaking, it's not the most wow factor. And if you're only going there for 3 or 4 days, I always say, that there's so many other things to see, and you could also see from the outside. Inside's very interesting, but not for the first time in Rome if you're only there for a few days.
No, it'd have to be restored for it to be a wow factor, I'm sure. And that was a big debate in the Discord a few months back, I believe. People discussing the difference between preservation and limited restoration, and basically completely rebuilding some of the old sites, which I'm personally on the fence with too, because on one hand, that would be amazing to see. Rome restored, the Forum rebuilt, marble everywhere. On the other hand, it's also sacred history. Do we want to really touch it up like that and potentially ruin it? Because I think that's what Saddam did to Babylon back in the day. He rebuilt parts of it, and I don't know. Some of that's kind of tacky looking.
Definitely. I've been to some theaters where, they had like only a moderate amount of ruins, and they just covered it over with like concrete theater. And it really looks tacky. So in that specific instance, my belief is just preservation and very limited like recreations,
Mhm.
and just rebuild Rome on another site.
I think it's
Obviously,
really
we're
good
talking
to say.
about like Elon Musk money or Mark Zuckerberg money, but
Time to recruit
but
Elon to Nova Roma.
but I honestly think that it would be amazing to see, for instance, the temple, the Capitoline Temple rebuilt, or go in the Forum and go to the Basilica Aemilia, or see so many other places there, or also see the Colosseum at full capacity. You know, but I think it would be too sad to really demolish and pave over the little ruins that we have in
Yeah.
order to make some sort of a, I don't know, recreation that might look like it's from Las Vegas or something like that. And I think that's the worst thing to do.
I don't know. Caesar's Palace is pretty popular out there. Uh,
I've been there a couple of times just to see the Roman, like, and it's so cheesy, but it puts you a smile on your face. It's like, okay, why
I
not?
know what that's supposed to be. I know what that is.
When I was there, when I was there, actually, I don't know how many, like 15 years ago, uh, there's a coin dealer in Caesar's Palace, and I got actually a Julius Caesar coin. It was actually really worn down, very rough shape, but you could barely make out the word Caesar, and it was with Aeneas carrying his father, if I remember correctly, and and it was $50, and it was really worn down. But then I was like, that's kind of cool, buying a denarius of Julius Caesar, a real one, over 2,000 years in Caesar's palace. Yeah, but it was so worn down that, like, I had to question, the $50, but I was like, it's still a Julius Caesar coin, regardless of how it looks.
And I don't think the Julius Caesar ones are as common in general as some of the old imperial ones. So, I mean, hey, that's one of the last Republican era coins you could grab.
Yeah. Do you collect coins as well?
I have a few. I know I have one from the Republic era, long before Caesar. It's from, I think, the mid 100s BC. Um, I have one from Trajan, one from Augustus. I forget which emperor killed Saint Valentine, but it was from that era, and a couple more. Again, they're in a box somewhere since I was moving everything around in temporary storage. Um, but yeah, it's just fascinating to hold a piece of history, and I'd much rather it be in my possession than in someone who might melt it down for copper or bronze or whatever. Because unfortunately, that happens. I, I work with the public. We have a Coinstar machine in my store. I've seen people inherit coin collections and run them through the Coinstar.
Wait, but I thought in the Coinstar they could only sort American coins and maybe Canadian, but like they put
Um,
ancient coins in there.
I haven't seen ancient, but I have seen people put in 1800s silver dollars.
Oh,
And the one time it rejected a bunch of them, fortunately, 32 of them. I was more than willing to say, oh, we'll give you the money for those and buy them out of the till. Because I paid face value for them. $32 for over $800 worth of coins.
Oh wow, very nice.
Yeah. And they're much safer with me than they are some idiot who took his grandfather's legacy and dumped it into a coin counter.
That's true. Yeah, I do have a bit of a coin collection myself. I started probably when I was about 18, 19 years old, a little bit on eBay, but low end. But then I read about a lot of fakes. But then I was like, okay, my strategy was just, my strategy and my budget was just focusing on low ends, and low ends really don't get faked that much because there's really no money in it. So obviously the money is more in the higher end, like silver
Yeah.
pieces or gold or very nice bronze, like large bronze, not the like low end worn down denarius. But then I stopped on eBay, and then I went to more coin shows and coin auctions. So now I have a bunch of coins, just in these drawer or here or there. But I just, yeah, I really find it interesting because it's like a direct link to ancient Roman history in your hand, in your possession. So it's kind of hard to top that.
And you don't know whoever would have touched it. It could have been some famous historical figure. You would never know.
Definitely. Um, so you mentioned Discord a little bit back. Were you one of the people that organized or set up the Nova Roman Discord channel?
I created it during a little before my second consulship, I believe. Um, that didn't really take traction until Artorius, I think he is. Was actually went on from there, and yeah, it's been pretty popular. Fortunately, not as popular as I would like. I would like to see all Nova Romans someday on it, just as a real time form of communication. Email's great, but let's be honest, 90% of our email boxes tend to be spam anymore.
Actually, never heard of Discord until I saw, on the mailing list that there's like a Nova Roma Discord channel. Like, how did you hear about Discord?
Oh, I play video games. I'm a gamer, and back in the day, which makes me sound super old, we tended to use things like Ventrilo, uh, TeamSpeak, but that was paid for. Skype, which is Skype even the thing anymore? Uh,
I think
um,
so.
just never hear of it anymore. It's kind of gone by the wayside. Um, but we and eventually just Discord came up as a free alternative for like voice communication, and it being voice and text was appealing, especially since it keeps logs of everything. Um, that's especially appealing to me for Nova Roma because that way we can maintain that history for as long as we can. Um, I like records, um, but it serves our needs. I mean, we don't really use the voice communication too often in the Nova Roma Discord, but I have seen it used now and then. Um,
Does it also have video functionality?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never used it, neither the voice nor the video. I've always been a little bit tempted to see if it's better than Zoom. But on the other hand, as you mentioned, there's some members that aren't on Discord, and you don't want to set it up that like, yeah, because like sometimes people use it on their computer, and okay, you could download Discord on the computer, but I guess now pretty much Zoom is unfortunately pretty normalized that like if you have a rudimentary like internet connection and you've been online in the last few years, you probably have a Zoom like experience by now. Yeah.
Um, honestly, I've only used Zoom a couple times, and that's for provincial meetings. Um, I'm not too impressed by it. I think again, I'm more familiar with Discord anyway, but I think it's a little more intuitive because you don't have to make your own nickname or anything anymore since you already have it on our Discord. But yeah, you just click the channel, you join it. If you want your webcam used, you click that button. It starts doing that, and I think it even can be set to show priority, as in if you start talking, your image will be the one that pops up, and you stop talking, and someone else does theirs. It's the one that takes priority.
I think that'd be fun, like to kind of like just like a monthly meetup thing. Whoever wants to just pops in like the either the video chat or voice chat. I mean, um, I think something like that should definitely be explored because, some people are busy, this or that. So like you'll constantly have like different, or ideally, you'll have like, different composition of people like joining and like right now, there are so many Discord like servers and like, you could speak to other people in your tribe or this or that. But I do think that it's much more pleasurable speaking to somebody in person. But if that's not possible, at least over voice and video. I think like many times, like conversations over like text, is not very optimal. You could say a lot more or communicate a lot more over video. So I mean, that'd be nice to kind of like just give it a try. I mean, in Germany, there's like something called Stammtisch. It means like regular, not literally, but it's like regular customers that like you just show up, once a week or once a month for just the month, for like the meetup, and like they're the regulars. And if it's like in a beer hall, sometimes they have like their own mugs and like and there's like a sign that says like, hey, these regular customers, and kind of like that. It'd be definitely nice. I do want to get to the comments quickly. Octavius Astronomus wrote that he also thinks that historic sites should be restored up to a point where no historical evidence or artifacts are lost. So pretty much exactly what I'm thinking. More of like preserving what we have instead of rebuilding things that aren't essential for obviously tourists or infrastructure, because we don't want columns falling on people's heads or that sort of stuff. He also wrote he has a collection mostly of U.S. coins and some European, and he would love to get a few authentic Roman ancient coins. Now I'll be more than happy to speak to you about starting a coin collection. I know Quadratus is definitely involved in numismatics, and he knows more about ancient Roman coins than me. So, yeah, you could write him, you could write me, and maybe you'll start a collection soon. That would be nice. He also wrote that he would like to have a voice call channel in our Discord server. So yeah, that's definitely something that we could look at in the not too distant future.
This, and I'm probably butchering the name. Caelus, Caelus, Caelum, basically Uranus in Roman mythos. Those were the two primary ones. I believe I'm also a member of the Collegium for Hercules, and I know I helped fund the Collegium for what was it, Sylvanus, the one woodland deity. Um, I basically try to throw a few bucks whenever I can their way, just because I support the idea behind them. Um, I would like to see more efforts similar to that over here in the states, because Ukraine is great, but right now that's not a very tenable situation. I'm pray daily for all their safety. I'm very proud of what we did to get as many people as we could out of the war zone. Um, and for people on both sides, I hope they try to stay safe, Nova Romans especially.
Definitely, I think about them a lot, and I'm in touch with them as well from time to time. I've had Titus several times, and also Hortensia Faustina several times on the channel, and I also bought things over the years, statuettes, also my tunic and toga. So yeah, I definitely want, obviously, Ukraine to be independent and to remain free and to not be a part of Russia. Um, Now, I I also think it's kind of like bold. What they did was like, you know, to not only say that, we're going to have like a community or an altar, to do an entire temple. I mean, that takes, dedication, that takes money, that takes time, and I mentioned to them that, obviously, so after the war, I would love to visit Poltava, where the temple is.
Mhm.
Obviously, I wouldn't, go now, and I wouldn't go shortly afterwards, because, it takes time to rebuild, and
Yeah.
tourism, in some of these areas is not like their first concern. So, and they'll also they have some ambitious plans to, like, expand. I believe they're going to build other structures near the temple, and
Hmm.
also the little city that they would like to found. So I mean, it's a very robust project, and I would love to, maybe. So if you would go right after the war, you would see the temple and you'd see the altars. But like, maybe if you go a few years afterwards, it'll be even bigger and grander. So I would definitely like to see that sometime.
Maybe
Um,
that's their plan, to get you to visit more than once. um,
is your name on any of the altars there?
uh, at the very least, the Sol Invictus one, yes. It should be on that one. I love the concept of it. As I said, I remember a few years back there were arguments about it because they hadn't yet fully integrated back into Nova Roma, because they kind of split off a while ago. But they're back now. Um, but how oh, the Temple to Jupiter, it isn't Roman. It's not made in such and such a way, and I just kind of figuratively, since it was over text, looked at this person, and it's temporary. It's a temporary structure. It's going to be replaced, and lo and behold, they've done just that, because it's a lot more impressive than it used to be, and
Oh, I
it's
didn't I
not.
didn't know that.
Mhm. If you look at the older photos of it, it's I don't know if they're wood or metal. Instead of the columns they have now, the
Oh
they
yeah,
were
they were
just
just
like
they were
just the
just like
poles and stuff like that.
they were just like load bearing beams, and
Yeah.
then eventually, but I think obviously they did it piecemeal.
Hmm.
Um, they've also added a lot of color. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff like that takes time, and they mainly do it them. I think they've done pretty much everything themselves, so it takes time and money. So you can't fault, for Rome not being built in a day, so to speak. Yeah.
There is definitely a lot of color, which it's weird to see, because yes, I know historically a lot of the buildings and statues and everything were painted quite vibrantly. Um, but it's just so used to seeing it all portrayed in white marble, like pure white, that it's just kind of jarring at first
Definitely.
glance.
Now, I have had the good fortune of going to Egypt, and I've been to some of those temples. And depending on various circumstances, some of them have a lot of original paint still still on the columns or the walls. And I was absolutely floored. And the tour guide was like, "Yeah, they were all painted." I was like, "What?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's a shock, but I mean, it makes it much more vibrant and come to life when like you see the colors, especially for like the Egyptian temples, because they're all like, I'm not sure if it's sandstone or whatever. Like, if the paint is chipped away.
I think a lot of them were sandstone back then.
So you see pretty much the same color pretty much everywhere, and then you go. I'm not sure what was the first temple with considerable color, if it was like the Temple of Hatshepsut or what have you. And then it was just full blown. So same thing with statues. I'm not sure if all statues were painted or the majority of statues were painted. There's some discussions. But it's definitely interesting to see like recreations of these statues with paint, because it definitely brings them to life. It's not like a wax figure, which is a perfect representation of them, but it's definitely a dynamic representation to see, somebody in color.
Yeah, and I've seen some colored in statues that look really good. They look realistic, and others not so much. It actually kind of looks creepy. there are some qualities of painting that fit that more than others. Like that restoration project of it was a mural of Christ in Spain that they hired someone who claimed to do it. They were an art teacher or something, and they just completely ruined this hundreds of year old painting because they had like a 2-year-old's level of drawing. I don't know. It was just bad. And
Yeah.
That is the concern with a lot of restoration attempts, because you never know, are these people really as qualified as they claim?
That's true. And sometimes I've seen some statues with, or computer images, restoring the color to statues. And sometimes they only use like 2 or 3 colors from from a whole palette. And I've seen so many Roman frescoes that are, so detailed, and they have like, big different color transitions and shading and this and that. And sometimes I see it, it's like, I don't think that, for instance, on a statue of Augustus, they will only use white, red, and blue. and okay, maybe pink for the face. But like, but like sometimes the reconstructions are there. I don't know. I don't know, but I would think that I would think that for like especially the large statues, there was definitely high quality painting rather than just monotone hair and monotone this or that. But,
I would imagine so. And if they find monotone traces on it, I would imagine that would just be the undercoat, the base coat, not necessarily the entire thing. Because I mean, we do that now. Why wouldn't they have?
Also, very true. I'm taking a look at the time. We have to wrap up in about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
However, there's a few more topics I would quickly like to touch before we go. And one is your involvement in an ancient Roman simulation game.
Ancient Roman simulation game.
Yeah. So Lentulus wrote me saying that you're involved in somehow. I'm not sure what the game is.
Um, I was involved in a MMO, massive multiplayer online project that's been defunct for a few years. Life of Rome, it was called. It was set in they basically import. You've seen the 3D model of Rome, right? The I know it's popped up in a few different places over the years. It was Rome at its height, like around 320 AD.
I mean, I've seen, for instance, on Facebook, there's a man I think from Bulgaria, and he has like Rome 3D, and that's like his Facebook page. Is that the one that you're referring
I
to?
think he's basing it on the 3D model that they were using for Life of Rome too. But basically, it was imported. Um, Obviously, needed some tweaking, but yeah, the concept of the game was basically to live the life of a Roman. There would have been elected senators. There would have been family households in the countryside. Um, you could actually walk detailed inside. It was a beautiful game. Unfortunately, there were issues in development, and the project kind of stalled and was canceled. Um, Hopefully, something like that could happen again because I know we want to have more focus on real life, but having games like that does provide an outreach, and it could be used as an educational experience because, again, who wouldn't want to take a virtual stroll through the streets of Rome?
I I remember like playing, I think, a PlayStation 2 game in ancient Rome, and I forgot it. It was like 10 years or more ago, and it was a lot of fun. And I was really hoping that, like, an Assassin's Creed would be set in Rome, and it's bittersweet because there's one set in ancient Greece, and it's like almost, but not quite.
The closest thus far has been the Egyptian one because that's the period where it's like coming under Roman rule. But yeah, I really want one set in Rome just to see what they could do with it, being able to climb the buildings and everything.
Definitely. Maybe with like VR goggles one day, maybe like in the metaverse or whatever, in like 10 years or so, that would definitely be a dream. And not just to have like a cheesy version of Rome, but like a version of Rome where like the buildings don't look all like, you know, 90s level graphics or whatever, and that like you could actually do things and explore the city. I think that'd be great. I think it's just really a matter of time.
And honestly, one day I would like Nova Roma to be the one offering things like that.
It is a bit of a stretch with the budget and
With our ultimate goals to basically refound the Republic, I mean, that's more within the realm of possibility than rebuilding the city of Rome right now. And it would help fund it. But no, and I've been keeping an eye on a few games. I actually do have chat open, and I've seen Octavius mentioned about the Minecraft servers, and I've posted a couple updates on the Discord about them before. There is currently a project called Pax Augusta, a game that's coming out in the future, where it's a Roman city builder.
I was just about to mention that because actually, so I don't know the person behind Pax Augusta, but like I've seen him on Facebook and Instagram, and he actually was viewing one of my streams in the past. And so, like I said, I've only I haven't communicated directly, but he's had quite a number of screenshots and kind of like for instance, like I think it's a very interesting project. I'm not sure about like the actual gameplay, and if it's more of like an RPG type of a game or like the exact setup. But I've seen a bunch of pictures and they look very nice. So
he actually goes to Roman ruins. I think he's German Swiss. But he through Switzerland, and he's gone to Italy and other parts of Germany, and he like takes photos, tries to get better. So basically, the idea is to build a thriving Roman town, which sounds fun to me. I mean, he had never heard of Nova Roma. I actually approached him about it and mentioned, because I know a few people were interested in that style of game, and he's been poking around Nova Roma. Hopefully, he eventually becomes a member. That'd be fantastic.
Nice. Yeah. Good to know. So time is almost gone. So I would be remiss to ask you about one topic, not the favorite topic to ask about, but about a few years ago, there was this quote unquote dictatorship in Nova Roma. I don't like to focus on it that much because I think a lot of people will misconstrue what Nova Roma is today, looking at the lens of some actions some years ago. But I believe you were also, I'm not sure, who the most important person was in the movement to save Nova Roma, but you were one of the people, definitely, if not the number one person. So, I mean, what was your involvement in that, and what was your impetus to say, okay, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to do something about this?
When that started to happen again, I had only recently gotten back active in Nova Roma. There was a period I kind of put it on the back burner in my life. And I agree with you. It shouldn't be the focus anymore. It's the past. I was coming back, and even before the dictatorship started, the Sulla and Caesar, Kaiser, technically, I guess, um, with Tudor and Lentulus. We used to chat a lot back in the day, in email and Facebook Messenger. Um, so I joined up on the resistance, the Free Nova Roma project. I created the interim website, which was actually going to be the web domains were meant to be a gift to Nova Roma, just so we would own them. The Nova-Roma.org. Um, Nova Roma. It was myself, Licinius, and Lentulus. So two Americans and a Hungarian. Um,
Did you ever go to court yourself?
Fortunately, we never had to. Legal processes are excruciatingly long in the first place, um, especially when the other side doesn't like to respond to the lawyers. Um, it was going to get close, and I would have been willing to go up if need be. I would have been the closest one to Maine, geographically anyway. But fortunately, well, what is it? Caesar resigned, and then sometime later, Sulla eventually surrendered, and he was in the process of starting to make everything over to our proxies, and then he passed away, which made us panic, and we've only relatively recently managed to get everything fully under control. Um, yeah, I, I know there's lots of bad blood, but it's still a shame that someone passed away. Regardless, I was one of the ones that definitely pushed for us to at least do something for him, and I think we sent flowers to the to the memorial, because life's too short to maintain grudges. And again, they were nasty people. They really were. And
Now, I remember reading flowers were also sent, not just for conciliatory purposes, but before this actually transpired, apparently he was a productive contributor to Nova Roma at one point. But on the other hand, my involvement through the years is, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. So I don't think I ever interacted with him personally, with either of the two personally in all these years.
yeah, I didn't really. They were part of Nova Roma. I mean, Sula especially. He was one of the older members, I believe. Um, and from my understanding, he got worse in personality over the years, especially once he and Caesar kind of latched onto each other. Um, like, bluntness is one thing. I mean, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, but those two actively like sought out to insult and bring down other Nova Romans, and that's not how anything should be here.
Definitely, and like, not to rehash past things, but I remember, like, shortly after joining, some of the flame wars that were taking place, and I don't know. I think the atmosphere is way better now, and obviously, if somebody, like, it doesn't happen often when somebody's disrespectful on, for instance, Discord or the mailing list. But when somebody is, they point it out, because there's definitely no tolerance anymore for the flame wars that occurred in the past. And,
Correct. Yeah.
and I
I
believe
definitely don't stand for that on Discord.
rightly so. Now, just a question. So regarding this movement to save Nova Roma, what was your thought process about just founding a splinter group, for instance, like, which also happened, rather than just saying, I'm gonna engage a lawyer to save Nova Roma itself? Like, were you thinking about, like, I don't know, another group, or was there something about Nova Roma specifically that you're like, no, this this entity has to be saved. We can't just duplicate it outside.
Um, that idea had been floated around a few times, and I was always strongly opposed to it, because we are Nova Romans. Nova Roma is its membership, its citizenry. Um, um, like, Nova Roma would have been completely splintered. It was part of his Nova Roma Reborn project. Um, but yeah, we are Nova Roman. We have the history. We are the oldest Roman revivalist reconstructionist organization around, to my knowledge. Definitely the most prominent. Um, Too many people lived and fought for Nova Roma over the years to just surrender it and make whatever organization that it would splinter into. Um, and I'm one of the ones that have been actively pushing over the years to bring those splinter organizations that have been formed. Um, Unfortunately, there were still a few people who harbor bad blood for no real reason, um, and didn't return, even though the original issues are gone. But hopefully we continue to see growth and reconciliation.
Absolutely. Especially in this year. It is the 25th year of Nova Roma, and it is the year of Concordia. So, I mean, obviously it would be great timing, for that reconciliation, especially for some people that felt wrong sometime in the past, rightly or wrongly, to come back and see how Nova Roma has changed for the better. And yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to what the future has in store for Nova Roma. There's a lot of ambition. There's a lot of interesting ideas. Obviously, it's also a matter of time and priorities and funding and what have you. So, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll see what the future has in store for us. I know we need a bunch of candidates for those positions that opened up. I believe they just recently did another call for more. So, hey, if any of you watching want to stand for office, you can. They're basically the introductory minor magistrates. Serve your republic.
So Octavius Astronomus wrote in the chat, and I'm very thankful that he has written a lot in the chat, that he knows of a couple Minecraft servers that have recreated ancient Rome. I've never played Minecraft. I've seen it on YouTube. It's kind of strange because it's all, old pixelated. Obviously it's going for like the old school feel. But for me, I don't know, it's always kind of been a little cheesy, but some people like it. So, to each his own.
I'm not a huge Minecraft fan either, personally. But I have seen I mentioned it briefly earlier, there is a Minecraft server that's made that it looks fantastic. You can't even tell it's Minecraft half the time. There's probably lots of mods on the server, but it's very detailed. It's kind of mind blowing, really. Which would be if we opened in our Minecraft server to do that.
He also wrote in the chat that he's glad that dictatorship can at least serve as a lesson for us going forward. Absolutely. And our 25th anniversary is in just about a week, which is interesting. I actually don't know the exact date of when Nova Roma was founded. I mean, I always thought that it was founded on the birthday of Rome, and I found out a few years ago that it's not, it's not on the birthday in April. So it's a complete separate day, but I just don't remember.
I mean, if it's been about a week, it would be February. So off the top of my head, yeah, I can't remember the date, but I'm terrible with dates anyway.
Definitely. Well, we have gone slightly over time, but it's been such a great chat. I definitely want to thank the audience participation. That's why I really enjoy, having these live interviews, is that, people could write questions or comments and, be a part of it as well. And obviously, to you personally, I really thank you for, being a part of this and taking your time. Obviously, due to scheduling issues, it took a little bit of time for us to set it up, but I'm really glad that we did, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me. And I just want to say, for the record, I do appreciate what you do, because you do actively seek out Nova Romans and try to put a face to the name, because that is a problem we've had for a long time. There is no face to the name. We're just a bunch of text. And hopefully this continues for a while.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting to put like a voice to a picture as well.
Also true.
I mean, I've seen your picture from 2018 with like the goatee, and goatee's gone. But like, you know, sometimes
No, it's still here. It just expanded.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I have been in the East Coast many, many times. Actually grew up there, Maryland. Unfortunately, our paths never crossed there, but like hopefully either in over there or in Europe at, you know, some conventus, so, you know, sometime, hopefully our paths could cross. That'd be a lot of fun.
Hopefully, that would be fun to have a little meetup again.
Sure. Well, I have to say, once again, thank you so much, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, and enjoy your, I guess, evening at this point.
Definitely. Salve.
Walete.
Sorry, Valente. Yeah.
Walete, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.